Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott. Today I wanted to dedicate an episode to the wonders of giving, and I want to help you to discover the wonder of giving. When it all comes down to it, it's really not about anything that you get or receive in your life. It is about what you give, period. That's what it's all about. Now, I know that you have to survive in this world, but if we're going to talk about prosperity and what it means to be prosperous, it might be assumed that the emphasis would be on how to get. Perhaps by now you will understand why we say that such an emphasis is not only grossly materialistic, but it is also extremely misleading. Any study of prosperity fails unless it teaches you how and why to give. And that is precisely what this episode is about. So I wanted to read from a chapter by Eric Butterworth in his book, Spiritual Economics, on discovering the wonders of giving. Giving does not refer simply to money. It is a process that may involve money, but it also involves your work and the many ways in which you make contact with life. Giving is basically an attitude with which you touch things. The word giving has become so completely identified with pious acts of philanthropy that it is difficult to think of the word without referring to the commercial of the church. The emphasis has been on what the gift is to and what rewards come back in the form of heavenly grace, a name on the stained glass window and a healthy deduction on the income tax return. Over the past decades, there has been a dramatic upheaval in the lifestyles of people in the Western world, brought about by the influence of a number of well-publicized revolutions. The women's movement has brought about notable gains in terms of freedom at home and at work. Computers have invaded and changed our whole lives. Sexual attitudes have become startlingly relaxed. Minority groups have moved up into the middle class in increasing numbers. There's another revolution that has had widespread impact. It is the predominant attitude towards money and success and the acceptable methods of achievement. Gradually, there has evolved an emphasis on getting what you want, when you want it at any cost. As we've said in previous episodes, some of the most widely read books in recent years have dealt with themes such as assertiveness, intimidation, positive selfishness, and it's okay to be greedy. One writer talks about the new wave of Machiavellianism. In this, any means, no matter how unscrupulous, is justified in working for achievement. Getting there is all that counts, whether or not that person earns the right to be there. Ideas like this have come to popularity among people who are lost and confused in the world of materiality. People who have asked the question, what is life? And have come up empty. Thus, they have concluded that life is competition among people who have no alternative other than to push aggressively out into the world and strive relentlessly to get the most for the least. However, this misses the very important point that life is not lived from outside in, but from inside out. Unless we understand this, we miss the whole meaning of life. The purpose of life is not acquisition, but unfoldment and personal development. Even in the teaching of metaphysics, there's been a tremendous swing toward this revolutionary attitude toward money and things. Thus, many books and courses by teachers of truth emphasize how-to techniques for demonstrating money and possessions and jobs and success. I've certainly done it. The constant theme is to get. Just hold the right thought and you can get anything you want. And I've said it. And the grossest level of materialism is reached when groups are led in singing prosperity songs in which the refrain affirms money, 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 money. For some, this is a sad derogation of a beautiful spiritual process. This contemporary trend toward materialism is attributable in large part to the sad neglect of the church in teaching the law of giving. Religious institutions have failed miserably in this respect, undoubtedly because they have been preoccupied with their own need to receive support. Preachers have talked of giving as returning to God a portion of one's income. Churchgoers have been lulled into a pious acceptance of this form of idealism. However, it completely skirts the issue of inward-rooted giving as it deals with an anemic God of the skies who bargains with us for a giving return. Jesus said, "Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow." Matthew 6:28. By nature's law, the lily grows and unfolds from a bulb to a flower. It is a discernible unfoldment from within outward. There is no obligation for the flower to return a portion of its fragrance and color and form to nature. There is no way it could do this even if it wanted to do so, because life is a forward, growing, unfolding experience. Don't miss the implication of this homely illustration. Your life is God's gift to you. What you do with it is your gift to God. Two men were engaged in an animated conversation as the discussion grew increasingly heated. One of the men was heard to say, "Just tell me one thing. What's in it for me?" It is an attitude that is all too common. What's in it for me? Not how can I give more to the job or relationship, but how can I be sure that I get mine? An article on the editorial page of the New York Times recently discussed the lack of any sense of the old-fashioned work ethic among the new generation of people, ages 20 to 30, moving into the job market. A personnel manager is quoted as referring to the new benefit bums. He says that during an interview, these people hardly listen to the duties of the job being explained. They ask questions about the salary, vacation, sick days, and other benefits and perks. They shop employers for benefits. That to them seems to be the essence of employment. They are ready to take but not give. Once hired, the syndrome continues. They are chronically late in the morning. They take the longest coffee breaks and lunch hours. They spend large segments of the day in time-consuming conversations, and then they get ready for the 5 o'clock quitting time at 4:30. The personnel manager says that their skills are low, and their motivation even lower. Further, they seem to suffer from strange maladies, such as Monday affliction and Friday afternoon paralysis. They may be products of the spreading welfare psychosis and has afflicted countless families in the past generation. They seem to say to the employer, "Pay me because I am here, not for what I can do." If true, this is a stirring indictment of the contemporary generation. Perhaps it is overstated, more of a caricature of the actual situation. However, anyone who has worked with people in the supervisory capacity will readily agree that there are two general types of people in life: the givers and the takers. A word of caution, please don't agree with this judgmentally thinking. "Oh yes, I know many people who are takers." We are not dealing with they or them. We are dealing with you. See it as a test for yourself. We are not trying to change others. Our goal in this episode is to help you to be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Romans 12:2. The takers are the people who believe that their lives will always be the total of what they can get from the world. They are always thinking, get. They plan and scheme ways to get what they want in money, in love, and in happiness, and in all kinds of good. No matter that they may be applying metaphysical techniques, they still may be very well takers. Whatever may be their spiritual ideals or lack of any, no matter what they take, they can never know peace or security or fulfillment. The givers, on the other hand, are convinced that life is a giving process. Thus, their subtle motivation in all their ways is to give themselves away in love, in service, and in all the many helpful ways they can invest themselves. They're always secure, for they intuitively know that their good flows from within. In the 3rd chapter of John, 16th verse, is the classic statement so often repeated by Christian fundamentalists. "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life." It is commonly thought and taught that this refers to Jesus, that Jesus is the only begotten Son, and by believing in him we attain eternal life. The whole structure of the Christian view rests on this foundation concept, which is by and large a misconception. Meister Eckhart A medieval mystic monk gives the key that unlocks the true meaning of John 3:16. God never begot but one Son, but the Eternal is forever begetting the only begotten. In other words, God so loved you that God gave you that which is begotten only of God. While much of your human self bears the influence of your parental background and also of your sociological experiences in life, yet there is that of you, the whole person of you, the self of you, which is begotten only of God. And if you believe in what Paul calls the Christ in you, you begin to experience life on an eternal vibration. What a transcendent idea, that you have your own unique flow of the divine. This is why Emerson talks of the need for each person to have his or her own first-hand and immediate experience of God. However, the most important aspect of John 3:16 is, "For God so loved the world that he gave." God is the divine givingness of the universe, and you are created in the image likeness of this divine givingness. You cannot make any sense out of life or realize the free flow of substance in your experience until you begin to see yourself as a giver. It may mean a complete turnaround in your approach to life, where you think give instead of get. In your spiritual quest, you are seeking to establish yourself in a unitive relationship with the divine flow. You can never really achieve this level of consciousness until giving becomes the main thrust of your life. And when it does, when you discover the wonder of giving, you become unblushingly an incurable giver. Meditate long on this point, for it is one of the most important keys of the prosperity law. Life for the whole person is a giving process. We are not talking specifically about church giving, giving to charity, and so forth. There are many channels through which your giving may be funneled. We are talking about attitudes towards life. The basic awareness that life is a matter of developing or unfolding from within. It is knowing that life is not something to get, but something to express. It is the fulfilling awareness that your business is always the express business, no matter what name your worldly vocation may bear. There is an inspired painting by a German artist, Rosenthal, entitled The Blessing of Work. It depicts a young boy carving a life-size picture of the Virgin Mary. The almost completed figure towers above the young artist, and while he works intently carving the details of the feet, Mary looks down upon him with love and with outstretched arms, blessing him. While he is giving himself in the creative flow, he is dynamically receiving immeasurably in return. The painting reveals much more. Light is streaming through the open window, its rays bathing him with an aura of illumination. On a large plaque on the wall, a heavenly choir is singing paeans of praise directly towards him. By his side, there is what we assume to be a picture of his mother, which he is using for a model, and with hands clasped in devotion, she is blessing him. Thus, the whole tone of the work suggests that the whole universe is rushing, streaming, pouring into the boy while he quietly gives himself in creative effort. It is a beautiful visual testimony to Jesus. Give, and you shall receive. It could be cynically asked, what's in it for the boy? The sculpted figure may one day bring him fame and fortune, or it could wind up in an attic somewhere discarded and useless. But the important thing is nothing can ever exceed or detract from the compensation that the boy is receiving at the instant while he is working. Even more, that sculpted piece could never be duplicated by one who lacks his giving attitude, which is an important facet of his genius. There are many skilled, even exceptional painters, sculptors, composers, and builders, but the real genius is the one whose skill is held up like an Aeolian harp, through which the winds of selfless giving blow steadily, creating ethereal music. Someone has said that architecture is frozen music. Perhaps it is true of all great art. Such is the law of giving. What's in it for me? You may be saying this of your present job, perhaps out of a feeling that you are not adequately compensated for the work that you do and the responsibilities you shoulder. If you discover the wonder of giving, you will find a great blessing of inner fulfillment in your work, which will lead to better work and, by the law of causation, to a greater experience of affluence, which may come through your job or through many different channels. The law is exact. If you give, really work in a giving consciousness, You must receive. If you at this point still ask the question, what's in it for me, then you are being grossly underpaid, even if your salary is in 6 figures. If all you get out of your work is a paycheck, you are shortchanging yourself. An itinerant preacher went to a neighboring parish to preach by invitation, taking his young son with him. As they entered the church, he saw a contribution box, and following his good instincts, he deposited $50. After his sermon was completed and the congregation had departed, the minister host said, "We are not a very prosperous parish, and all we can pay is what is in the contribution box." So he opened the box and presented the visitor with $50, all that had been put in. The visitor thanked him and went his way, if not rejoicing, at least resigned. They walked in silence for a distance, and then the wise young lad said, "Gee, Dad, if you had put more in, you would have gotten more out." Such is the great law of giving. Who has not exclaimed at some low moment of his life, "My life has no meaning"? This sense of meaninglessness is the greatest cause of depression and even of compulsive addiction in the form of overeating, alcoholism, and drug addiction. But you see, life doesn't have meaning. Only you have meaning. It makes about as much sense to say, "My life has no meaning," as it does to stand in a dark cave with an unlit flashlight in your hand and say, "This place has no light." Jesus would say, "Let your light shine." Meaning is not to be found out there, in a job, in a person, or in a relationship. Meaning is something you release from within yourself. You put meaning into your work, into your experiences, and into every relationship with people. Many persons find great meaning in their lives through a kind of work that would be a drag to someone else. It is not the work, but the sense of giving in which it is done. When a young person begins thinking about career opportunities, she may ask, what is a good field to get into? It is a critical moment in her life. If she asks you out of respect for your experience and maturity, you're in a position to get to her with an insight that can be a blessing to her all through her life. She is standing at the crossroads, with one road ahead leading in the way of getting and the other leading in the way of giving. If you are wise, you will answer her question by asking her another question. Do you mean what is a good field, or what is a good field for you? She may then ask, but what field will pay the most money? You should wisely respond, that is a question you should resist as long as you can. In the long run, the work that will prosper is the work you can put yourself into with the most enthusiasm. If you take that which offers the greatest immediate return, you may well frustrate your own potential. Even your eventual earning power, she may persist. But shouldn't I try to find a job with a future? You can then say, there is no future in any job. The future is in you. When you find your right place, you will release that which will make for a good and happy and successful future. The president of a great railroad was on an inspection tour when he encountered a laborer in a section gang with whom he had worked in that same work some 40 years earlier. He greeted his old friend warmly, remembering the old days. The tired old laborer said, "Bert, you've gone a long way from the time when we were laying tracks together." The executive said, "No, Sam, that isn't quite correct. You were laying tracks. I was building a railroad." Therein lies the difference. If you are a secretary, do you just type letters, or are you helping your company sell products? If you work in a sanitation department, do you simply sweep streets, or are you helping to maintain the health of the community? Analyze your attitude toward your work. Do you go to work with a sense of eagerness in the morning? Is your work a happy experience? If not, you are probably tired toward the latter part of the day and exhausted when you arrive home in the evening. You may attribute the exhaustion to the amount of work you do, but it is more likely the result of your resistance and resentment. You may feel unappreciated, underpaid, overworked, and it could be true, but your life is lived from within out. No matter what conditions prevail in your place of work, what happens in you is the result of your consciousness. You might find a coworker in your department who is perfectly happy there. The difference is not that he or she is treated differently, but that he or she treats the work to be done differently. Begin thinking, give, and the resistance and the fatigue that it spawns will quickly leave. One of the most significant phrases in the Bible is wait on the Lord. Several references in Proverbs and Psalms. It comes from the Hebrew word gavah, which means to bind together. Thus, to wait on the Lord does not mean to sit down and fold your hands in the faith that God will do it all for you. The fact is, God can do no more for you than God can do through you. It is not inaction or procrastination. Wait on the Lord means to get yourself integrated in consciousness with the divine flow. It is so very important before undertaking any project to wait on the Lord in a conscious prayer experience in which you turn your thoughts inward and establish yourself in the flow of the creative process. It is an important moment, God's moment, before you go to work or before you set out to find a job. Just become very still and centered. Sense the creative energy of spirit tingling in your fingertips, guiding your hands, directing your footsteps, putting words into your mouth, helping you to do the things that need to be done, to do them easily and to do them well. The first thing that will happen is that you will forget that there is a reward dangling before you for the work you do. You will no longer be working for money. You'll be paid, of course, but it will be an added compensation for doing the thing you love to do. You will have a strong urge to do all that you can do to the utmost of your skill. There isn't a job in all the world that can be done better than it is being done when workers change their attitude about it. And no one is doing right by themselves or their employer if they simply rock along, going through the motions of doing their work. If you want to work for the kind of consciousness that will maintain you in the giving flow, begin every day with the commitment, I will do what I do better and better and better, and I will do more and more of what I do. When you begin to understand this life principle, you will know that there is a wellspring of life, substance, and intelligence within you, and that yours is the privilege at any time of giving way to its flow. This may lead to one of the most important realizations that will ever come to you. If ever there is a lack of any kind, whether it is a need for employment or for money or for guidance or even for healing, something is blocking the flow. And the most effective remedy, give. You may be thinking, but I need to receive. My hands are empty. I need someone to give to me. But you see, under the law of giving, when things get tight, something's got to give. Look for some way to start the giving flow. Make a commitment to some kind of giving, not a bargain with God, for that is a kind of pious procrastination. Okay, God, if you do so-and-so, then I will do so-and-so, but you do it first. Rather, make a covenant with yourself. It could be an offering of thanks to a place from which you have been receiving spiritual help. It could be a greater giving in your work. It could be doing something for another person who is in need. It could be even simply giving away some seldom used possession. Something's got to give. It is so easy to get down in consciousness from the desperate need to receive. You might even think, when I demonstrate the supply, I will send a gift to the church. Why not give now? If there is no money, go down to the church or some other nonprofit organization and volunteer your services. If you are unemployed, get into the giving flow by giving your services to some community activity, or offer to help some young person who may be struggling in a new business enterprise, or just stay home and keep your hands and mind involved in creative activity. Take some time to go through your attic and closets and drawers to find all the seldom used or never used possessions that can bless someone richly and derive a great thrill and spiritual fulfillment by giving. There is never a time when you can't find some way to start the giving flow, which in turn will open the way to the receiving of your good. Jesus clearly articulated the divine law, give and it will be given to you. Luke 6:38. The divine flow requires but one thing of you, your consent to be a receiving channel. It is like the water faucet, which must be open to the flow in order that the water may pour forth freely. Jesus was stressing the need to get into a giving consciousness in order to sustain the flow of good in your life. He did not mean simply money giving. Often the religious book or teacher will talk about self-interest and insist that giving must go to the church. The giving is a state of consciousness that may eventuate in many different ways. But the important thing is to think give. Say to yourself, I will think give today. I will think give every day of my life. The law is clear. It promises, think give and you will get. It is a fundamental key to achieving prosperity. A truly giving consciousness is the creative alternative to the worldly emphasis on winning through intimidation or succeeding through positive selfishness. It is the better way. And a committed giver is an incurably happy person, a secure person, a satisfied person, and a prosperous person. When you discover the wonder of giving, you will wonder how you could have lived so long in any other way. It is the key that makes truth work, that opens the door to the good you have been seeking, and that gives life that added glow. It can be one of the great discoveries of your life. When you become a committed giver, you can no more go back to the old way of living than you can go back to life in prehistoric times. There is a new world awaiting you. a new level of life that can open to you, and a new experience of the dynamism of truth which you have been studying. Discover the wonder of giving. It is the better way, and the day will come when you will insist that it is the only way. We're simply talking about a shift in mindset from this reading, and that is all I want you to come out of. Change your mindset. If you find yourself thinking, what can I get out of this? Change that. What can I give? It's not about the money. You can give your time. You can give your attention. You can donate your services. You can do so much. There's so many opportunities to give. And in my own case, when I ask myself, how can I give? If you're listening to this saying, I don't really know how I can give, I don't have much to give anyway, that is not true. You're amazing, and there's so much that you can give. You can give in so many different ways. Simply your presence is a gift. You can give beauty by creating something. You can give time. You can lend your ear and listen to somebody talk, and that is a gift. When you ask the question, how can I give? You will be given so many wonderful answers. It's an important question to ask. Wake up in the morning, I want to give today. How can I give more? And you will be given answers, and it will be a joyous thing. And the more you start to focus on this, you will get all the things that you want. If you are struggling in finding the abundance that you want in your life, this may be the key. You may have to shift your mindset into that giving mode. That's when the flow starts to come back circularly to you in every way, shape, and form. It's what changed my life. When you shift your thinking about what you're going to get so much more. You're going to be so wealthy, so rich because of what you give. Have faith in this. There's some amazing teachers that have taught this throughout the ages, including Jesus, as he discusses in this chapter. Norman Vincent Peale, Power of the Positive Mind, indicates that he was suffering from poverty and had no money coming in and just a little bit of money in the bank. And he and his wife decided, you know what, I'm going to give because that shows faith that I will be receiving more in the future. And it is a test of faith. If you have a little bit of money that you want to give, and you don't know where you're going to get more in the future, what better way to symbolically say, I trust you, God. I'm going to give this money, and I know I'm going to get more from you in the future. If you're holding it back, you're saying, God, I don't think you're going to give me that money. I don't think you're going to give that money to me, so I'm going to hold this money. It's all about the flow of the money that you have. When you give, it comes back to you. And I believe in this strongly. It has resonated in my life, and I've seen it with so many successful people. It is about how you want to give. And when you do this, the service that you have, the ways that you can serve will be numerous and infinite. I promise you, it's a paradigm shift in your life. I want you to be wealthy. I want you to have everything that you ever wanted, and you will get all of that when you start to give. You can find all episodes of The Reality Revolution at therealityrevolution.com. Now available at newearth.art. Powerful fourth density technologies. Art magic. Sigils. Images designed to magnetize and broadcast specific energies and intentions. You can access these images to help you find true prosperity, large sums of money, true love, radiant health, and spiritual enlightenment with unique portals into the new earth. These images are available for you. You can acquire prints of any image. You can acquire magnets, mugs, iPhone cases, t-shirts, hoodies, greeting cards, coasters, and several different gallery wraps and styles of canvas. You can also get these images in a variety of different sizes and dimensions. You can purchase these in a variety of different ways, and they are here to enable you to transform your life. You can go to wall previews and look at these images, and you can check them out with different dimensions. In many cases, you can get images up to 72 inches for any of these images. They are designed as unique technologies for you to look into, infused with magical light at www.newearth.art. Art. Welcome to the Reality Revolution.